Welcome, everyone. Thank you for putting your information into the chat. As the last few start to come in, they can do that as well, but I think we should get started because we've got a big presentation ahead of us today. Let me get my notes ready. All righty. So welcome. Introduce yourself with your name, your position and organization into the chat while I give this little preamble and let people know where you're from and how they can reach out to you. And let's begin, shall we? So thank you to everyone who's joining us today and who has been with us with our past Lunch and Learns. And a big welcome to everyone who is new here for the first time. I am Landon Solano, a communications specialist with Forward Service Corporation. I host these Lunch and Learns as well as with our communications team, put together all kinds of outreach materials, excuse me, and social media activities and resources like the newsletter that we send to you each month. So thank you all for being here. We're working hard on some great upcoming topics and speakers in the coming months. We hope you'll join us again in the future. Today's session is being recorded and will be provided to you on Friday, along with a PDF of today's slide deck. There will be a Q&A throughout today's presentation. We ask that you put your questions into the chat and they will be addressed at the appropriate time. Our goal here at Forward Service Corporation is to help people get stable, high-wage employment through job training and supportive services. We are a dedicated team of individuals looking to meet people where they are. Everyone that comes through our doors is treated with respect, and we will work tirelessly to connect them with the resources that they need to succeed. We hope that you'll consider connecting with us whenever you have someone that you think can benefit from both of our services. Just some quick housekeeping before we begin. It is spring after all. In North Central Wisconsin, we have on April 9th a walk-in Wednesday happening at our Rhinelander, Wausau, and Wisconsin Rapids offices. So from 1 to 2 p.m., come on in. We'll answer your questions, provide information about our programs, and even help get applications started. So come on in and say hello. Also want to mention that we have created something called Get Set FSET, which are a series of videos that are intended to start the first conversation with people about the FSET program. In these videos, program participants speak about their experience in FSET, which we've started sharing on our website and on social media. These videos are a great way to introduce someone new to what the FSET program is while seeing it through a very personal lens. So if you're on social media or looking for FSET resources, check out our website for more information, or we would really appreciate if you shared our posts on your social networks if you think that your followers might find them interesting. Okay, today's topic, We're talking about emergency assistance. We're talking about LIHEAP. As many of us know, the winter moratorium on energy utility shutoffs is coming to an end this week, and there are going to be many families looking for resources to help them make the transition. There are a few programs that some families might be eligible for, including emergency assistance. Emergency assistance can help a person's utility bills if a person's utility bills are overdue or if they're at risk of being shut off. Folks can apply for emergency assistance directly through our website or through the Access Wisconsin app. One of the programs that can benefit families immensely is the Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program. I am very excited today to have here Bobby Davis, the Department of Administration, Division of Energy, Housing, and let me move that so I can read, Community Resources of the Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program, and Jane Blank, the Section Chief, Department of Administration, Division of Housing, Energy, Housing, and Community Resources. And with that tongue twister, I will hand it over to Bobby for a deep dive. Bobby, are you able to share your slides?
That is what I'm going to try to do right now.
Fantastic. I will stop sharing so that you can hop on in.
Okay, what is... Okay, can you let me know if you see the slideshow?
You see
I
him
see
just
it.
fine. Thank you.
Perfect. Alrighty, so I'm here to talk to you guys about the Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program, which is what we call the WEAP program, and we'll give you the overview of what our program all entails. So then we have the Home Energy Plus program, which is what we call HE Plus. So we also have WEAP, we have the HE Plus program services, and we also have weatherization. That is all underneath our umbrella for the Home Energy Plus. So to give you a little bit of the Home Energy Plus program funding, so we have the HE Plus, sorry, I apologize. Oh, nope, it went, no, sorry. Okay, so we have the Home Energy Plus, and then off of the Home Energy Plus, we have the weatherization, and then we have the Department of Energy, which is the DOE, then we have Public Benefits, PB, and then we have the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP block grant, which gives the weatherization agency 15%. And then what I'm here mostly to talk about is the Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program, WEAP, which is funded by the Public Benefits and the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP block grant. Just got to get my tapping down here, so I apologize. So the WEAP program delivery, so we have 24 counties and 6 tribes that administer the WEAP program. We also have 6 nonprofit organizations that cover other counties, including Energy Assistance, which is ESI in the state of Wisconsin, which serves customers in 33 different counties throughout the state. This map is located on our website at the energyandhousing.wi.gov. And if you go to any one of these individual counties, they'll give you a breakdown of who to contact. We'll have phone numbers, they'll have websites, and it will even have the online application on that website. And then to give you guys a little bit of background on the WEAP program dates. So the heating season runs October 1st through May 15th, which is our regular benefits. And then the emergency crisis assistance, the emergency furnace activities, and then the water conservation activities. And then outside of the heating season, which is May 16th through September 30th, which is what we assist with the preventative assistance, which is crisis as well. The non-emergency furnace activities. So furnaces go all year round. It just is when it's emergency, when it's versus non-emergency. And then water conservation runs throughout the whole year as well. It's just what's emergency and what's non-emergency is how that falls into how it would be categorized at the local level. And then the WEAP benefit payments. So we have the regular benefits and we have crisis benefits. So to give you a little bit of background on the regular benefits, it's a one-time per heating season. Heat, LIHEAP, and or non-heating electric PV. So they could qualify for one or the other or both, depending on their living situation. Most benefits are paid directly to the energy vendor. There is at times where benefits are paid to an individual, depending on their living situation. That's my next topic, can be paid directly to the customer in certain situations. So if like their heat's included in rent, if there's separate payment to landlord, could be a wood situation, in those types of situations, the customer could receive a check. But for the most part, all benefits go to the energy provider. Crisis benefits, generally for emergency situations, to restore power or to avoid disconnection is what the crisis benefits are intended for. And that can only be paid directly to the energy provider. So someone that is heat included in the rent, separate payment to landlord, they may not necessarily qualify for the crisis benefits to be paid to assist that household. So it does have to be, in order for crisis benefits, you do have to have a direct pay in order for crisis benefits to be applied. And then to give you guys our income eligibility limits, this does break it down. Once the household sizes 1 through 8, and then we do go off of a 1-month income amount. So if a person comes in to apply in April, we're going to be looking at the March's income. So we would look at March's income, and if they are under these income eligibility limits, they would qualify for the WEAP program. We do go off of the 60% state medium income, the SMI. But we do go by the prior month, 1-month income is our test period. And then we also do have the annual income listed as well, in case if somebody's is seasonally employed, self-employed, something along those lines, we may have to look at the annual income for that individual to see if they qualify. And then we have the WEAP non-financial eligibility. So these are individuals that may not, they're listed underneath the non-financial eligibility. So their dwelling and residence, the social security numbers, citizenship, household composition, and energy burden is some of the WEAP non-financial eligibilities. And then we have the HE Plus process. So this is how we would go ahead and conduct an energy application. Is we would go ahead and start the HE Plus application, and then it would result in the benefits being issued, the dollars being issued, whether it's to the vendor or to the direct pay of the customer. And then the individual is referred automatically through our database to the weatherization agency. And then the weatherization agency prioritizes those situations, and then potential add-ons of services that an individual could qualify for could be the crisis. They could qualify for the furnace and water conservation, educational services. So if like a budget counseling, something along those lines is what the educational services could be. And then other miscellaneous, just in case if there's other programs, like right now we have the LIWAP program, which is a water program to help individuals with their water bills. So that's what one of those programs of the other miscellaneous programs, if we have any other programs that are running through the WEAP umbrella. And then like right now we have the WERA program that did come to an end, but that is something that they could have qualified for as well, which the WERA program is the housing program. And then,
hey, Bobby, I'm gonna,
yeah.
Sorry,
No,
this
you're
is
good.
Jane. Hello, everyone. Good morning. We're all stuck inside on a beautiful weather day today, but it's all for good, right? We'll get out there later today. I just wanted to pause a minute, Bobby, and I know you and I chatted a little bit about this yesterday, where to maybe insert some opportunity for some questions, and we were going to bookmark that at the end of WEAP, but as I'm trying to put myself in, I haven't been with the program for 25 years, and we just toss a lot of information at folks. Maybe before we go on with the rest of your contact, maybe we should pause and see if anyone wants us to go back to any slides or has any questions.
Sounds good.
I might be able to kick people off with questions, just with something on your previous slide with the HE Plus application. Yeah, so based on this in the previous slide that you showed, how it's all broken down, is the weatherization process a separate eligibility, or is that kind of combined under the HE Plus application eligibility? I'm just wondering if participants or people applying for this need to provide their information to two different places, or if it kind of works in tandem.
Nope, it's all underneath the same umbrella. So as long as they qualify for energy assistance, they qualify for the weatherization program.
Fantastic.
The only caveat, that's a good response, Bobby. The only caveat to that is that for realistic expectations for customers, so if you're speaking with a customer about this, occasionally the weatherization agencies may ask some additional questions. So for example, if someone's determined eligible for energy assistance, they are automatically determined eligible for potential weatherization. The volume, I mean, for energy assistance, we serve approximately 200,000 households across the state annually. There's no way that the weatherization network can go into 200,000 homes, right? Plus there's a sunset, a limitation essentially on how many times the weatherization program can go into a building. And so these are folks making buildings eligible. But let's just say they haven't received that weatherization, or that building hasn't been weatherized, they're now eligible for energy assistance. There may be some additional questions that are asked. One specifically is home ownership verification. So we don't ask that question during the energy assistance application because it's superfluous. It's not necessary at the time that they're just applying for energy assistance, but it is a requirement before further weatherization can be determined.
Got it. Okay. We have a question in the chat here. What's the furnace and water conservation program? What does weatherization program entail? I'm not sure if that's something you'll be going into in a minute or not, but wanted to.
It is. We'll go
Okay.
through that. Yep, shortly.
Cool.
Alrighty. Any other questions right now before we move on?
That's it from the chat.
Okay. Alrighty. So then my next question is, how do customers apply? So does anybody know how the customers apply? If anybody wants to add that in chat.
I think we better tell them.
All right, we'll go ahead and we'll tell them. All right, so the one option is to apply online. So we have listed the link to apply online. So if an individual goes to this, they can go ahead and submit an application online, upload the documents right to the online application, and submit it right into the database for us to be reviewed, for it to be reviewed at the local level. And then we also go ahead and they can go ahead and apply at the local agency or with a statewide customer care center, which the number is listed here as well. So they can apply via the phone. And then there is also paper applications that can be mailed to a customer or emailed or dropped off. So if a customer contacts the agency and says, hey, I would like to fill out a paper application, the local agency can go ahead and send them a paper application and they can fill it out that way. It is also on the division website. So if individuals do go to the division website, they are able to go ahead and fill out the application and then mail it in to the division or to a local agency. And then they are able to go ahead and do in-person applications at the WEEP agency office. So that map that I showed earlier, it will go ahead and indicate where the local offices are throughout the state of Wisconsin. So if an individual does prefer to apply in person, they definitely can. But the most common thing that we've noticed this year is online applications have increased tremendously this year.
Is the map on the website as well?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it's interactive. So a person basically clicks on the polygon of the county in which they live. And then that's where it provides, very specific information about all of the division's programs essentially, and how one, goes about reaching out. I would just want to add here, Bobby, too, that I like to call them silver linings, I guess, of COVID. And one of which is our online application. So we had it on our radar. It was on our to-do list. And as some of you can maybe relate, when you have programming that needs to be required, you're usually competing for several different requests. And so put it on the priority list. Well, it was a little bit lower because it was a big lift, it was a little bit lower on the to-do list or priority list. But then when COVID hit, that really escalated it. So we were very, very fortunate to be able to stand this up when we did. Since we stood it up, it's been about 30% of our caseload apply using the online portal. And then I would also add that since, COVID has settled down some, I would say that there's just been almost what appears to be sort of a permanent-ish shift that either customers are applying online or by phone. Those are the two most common forms of application. A lot, and I would say the lowest is probably Bobby's fourth bullet point there. We do still have, that ability, and agencies are required to provide varying different methods for the customer. But I would say the fourth bullet point is probably the least common anymore, which several years ago, right, Bobby, it was probably the most common.
Yes, most definitely. All righty. And then the next is, what does a customer need to complete an application? So I'll go through those. If anybody has questions, just go ahead and put it in the chat. So Social Security SSNs, which is Social Security numbers for every household member who has an SSN. Date of birth for every household member. Address and landlord information if applicable. If they're a homeowner, obviously they would not have landlord information. Energy account information. And then information about all income sources in the household, and all income must be verified. And we do go by the prior month income. So like I was stating earlier, if they applied in April, we would be looking at March's income. Right. And then WEAP benefits. So just kind of, I'll go over some benefits for WEAP. It varies widely based on a variety of factors. Average benefits in this last program year were $418 for LIHEAP. That's what the dollar amounts was for the average, was $418 for LIHEAP, which is the heat benefit, and then $195 for PV, which is the electric benefit. And that does vary from customer to customer. That's just the average grant amount. And then WEAP is not meant to cover 100% of a household's energy burden. And then WEAP benefits, some of the factors that affect the benefit amount. A lot of individuals are not aware of this. So the total funding available, so whatever we are allocated for that program year, and then the income levels of the household, taking into account the number of people in the household. So if there's 4 household members, the database goes ahead and reads how many individuals are in the household. The fuel type for heating, the room count in the dwelling, and then fuel cost, which is the annual usage, which we obtain from the vendors, and then the type of dwelling. So if their heat's included in rent, or when we're talking about the types of dwelling, it could be direct pay. And then going off of the room count, we do not count like laundry rooms, bathrooms. It is like bedrooms, kitchen, living room, dining room. Those are the rooms that are counted in room count for the dwelling. Jane, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just put in the chat basically what you just said. So we define allowable rooms to count. So we have that defined in our policy.
Thank you. And then does anybody have any questions at this time regarding the WEAP program before we move into the furnace program?
Yeah, Bobby, there's a couple, I think, in the chat. You might not be able to see it. It's difficult when you're running the PowerPoint, I think. So one of them is the retroactive payments, if they're behind on energy bills, does this help them get caught up? So do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Go ahead and take that one.
Okay,
sure.
So the policy requires in the vendor contract, so we have contracts with all of our vendors who receive benefits for energy assistance on behalf of their customers. They're required that the heating assistance benefit which is different from crisis now. So the heating assistance benefit and the public benefit that's not crisis, those are to be applied to current costs, current heating season costs. So customers, the program year begins, it runs on a federal fiscal year. So the program year begins on October 1. And so, you know, even though in Wisconsin it can be chilly, you know, I would say that, you know, in October, you're not, you know, if someone received a $500 benefit, for example, that's probably not going to pay. It's probably going to be a credit on their account for a little bit, right? Because it's intended to pay for the current heating costs for that heating season. However, retroactive payments, so to speak, are allowable if we are helping someone with crisis. So for example, if someone has a very large arrears, this comes into kind of in the prevention component of our program, where if someone has a large arrears and they're very likely going to be facing a disconnection, or if they have a very large arrears and deliverable fuel, you know, propane won't be delivered by that vendor because they're like, no, this customer already owes me $5,000. Why would I bother? You know, so we can, in the program, can provide retroactive payments. But again, that first step is applying for energy assistance and determining, you know, the overall program eligibility. So I hope that answered that question. And then I think the other one was just a comment. I've used the program before and applied, so that's great. There's another question that just popped in, Bobby. So if you're looking at prior month income, what happens when they have no income the month before application, but is currently working and receiving income during the month of application? Does not mean they have, or does this mean maybe, I think they have no income. Do you want to take that one, Bobby?
Sure. So we do go by the prior month income. So it would mean that they would have no income at that time. We would add in system notes though, stating that this person is now working, you know, for if a person contacts us for furnace eligibility or something along those lines, crisis eligibility, you know, for when we look into that. But yes, we are going by the prior month income. So if they have no income that month and then they started working in like the month of April, then it would still be a no income household.
And we do have a form that they need to complete and provide to the local agency. It's called a zero income form. How novel. And that's required for policy. How often can a person receive crisis assistance? You want to take that, Bobby?
Sure. So currently our crisis policy is 2 times per season. We do have eligibility or crisis eligibility limit. So there's a limitation on crisis eligibility. So currently for LIHEAP, it's up to $750, and for PB, it's up to $350. And then they can receive that 2 times per heating season with a max of $1,200. So to answer that question, it's 2 times per season. So that'd be October. I guess it could be essentially October to September. So 2 times per heating season.
And during COVID, that was all thrown out the window. So we received significant funding, as many other programs did across the nation. And we were paying off arrears. We were issuing significantly large crisis benefits. And we did not have the limitation on the number of crisis benefits either per program year. How do they apply for crisis assistance?
So they would contact us via phone at the 1-800 number. They can stop in at the local office. If they go to the map on our division website, it will go ahead and let them know who to contact for their county.
And sometimes they haven't applied for energy assistance yet. I would say it's very common in Milwaukee County area, because they are serviced, nearly 100% of the customers there are serviced by We Energies. And those customers are then protected by the winter moratorium. But sometimes the trigger is they receive that notice from We Energy saying, you know, you owe us a significant amount of money. If you don't pay this by such and such date, we're going to disconnect you. And so oftentimes that's the trigger for them to contact the energy assistance agencies in Milwaukee County. And then a regular application is processed. Sometimes that regular energy assistance benefit or benefits between the heat and the PB is enough to reconnect someone or to prevent that disconnection. So crisis might not even be warranted. But so the first thing is, again, as with all of our programs, apply for energy assistance first.
Is that all the questions we have at this time, Jane?
That's all that's in the chat.
Alrighty, I'll move on. So the next topic is the HE Plus program services. So our furnace program, we changed the name most recently to HE Plus program services, which is our furnace program. So the furnace is to replace or repair. This can be homeowners or renters. Renters just have to do a little bit more verification because their landlord does have to qualify for energy assistance in order for them to qualify for the furnace program. So what the furnace program is for is to improve energy efficiencies and health and safety. So if someone is leaking carbon dioxide, you know, their furnace definitely needs to be looked at and see if it needs to be repaired or replaced. And then the eligibility requirements is to have a non-working heating unit. So essentially have a no heat situation happening, own their own home, or if renting, the landlord is eligible for WEEP. So as I indicated earlier, is that the homeowner does have to qualify for energy assistance in order for that renter to qualify for their furnace to be repaired or replaced. And then it has to be an eligible structure. So it does have to, you know, if the home's going to be condemned, something along those lines, that individual may not qualify for that furnace to be repaired or replaced. And then the next one is the name that we've changed everything to is the HE Plus program services, because that's one of their umbrellas. So the water conservation is also underneath the HE Plus program services. The water conservation is for water heaters to be repaired or replaced. So if the water heater's leaking or otherwise malfunctioning, that could qualify to go ahead and have someone come out to look at it to see if it needs to be repaired or replaced. Repair or replace of leaky toilets. So if someone's toilet is constantly running, they could qualify to have their toilet repaired or replaced, faucets and other fixtures. We have seen, I don't necessarily work on that side of things, but when I was at the local level, we have seen, you know, where faucets were replaced, like their kitchen sinks or something along those lines that can't constantly ran, to try to help lower the water bills, so they would qualify for the water conservation program. So eligibility requirements is they do have to own their home and or renting, and the landlord does have to be eligible for the WEEP program in order for that renter to qualify. So same as the furnace program. So essentially they're ran somewhat just like each other. So it does have to be an eligible structure. And then I think we have questions regarding the water conservation or furnace program. Does anybody have questions?
And maybe before we shift to that, there was one question typed in. What is the turn time? I think maybe turnaround time or response time on approval. Amy, can you clarify, is this for the regular energy assistance or for crisis? Because it will vary. Or Bobby, maybe if you want to just respond for both, you know, and explain the variance, I guess, basically.
Yeah, so for the WEEP program, it is a 30-day time frame, start to finish. So if a person applies today, they do have 30 days from today to go ahead and complete that energy application. And then, so that's a 30-day time frame for the WEEP program. And then for, depending on, for the furnace and the water conservation, it could be 18 hours or 48 hours, depending on the situation. So if it's an emergency situation, we have 18 hours. If it's a non-emergency situation, we have up to 48 hours to respond.
Which is similar for crisis as well, for the
Yeah.
energy assistance crisis as well. And it doesn't necessarily, the 30 days that's in policy that allows the customer to provide all of the necessary information that's needed to complete their application. So as well as to obtain a signature, we have what's called a certification page. When customers apply online, that's built right into the online application portal. And then a lot of agencies have adopted, and we've approved what's called a telephonic signature. So they actually read all of the information that's on that certification page. And then they record the customer acknowledging and agreeing to certain language. And so those are all included, I guess, in potential outstanding items that customers are provided 30 days. However, if someone, for example, submits an online application, they provide their pay stubs, for example, and everything else is fine and everything is there, everything verifies and is adequate to process the application. I mean, it could take roughly a week for that turnaround time, and sometimes even shorter than that. It just depends upon the day of the week as well. So we process applications, we call them extractions, but basically every Wednesday evening, so tonight, we will be looking at all of the applications that have been submitted. It's like a status in our system, and we will send denial letters to customers who are denied for various different reasons. They're over income, they never completed their application, provided everything they were supposed to in those 30 days. For example, we also issue letters to customers saying, hey, your application was processed and this vendor are going to receive this benefit amount and this benefit amount. And so we mail letters basically to customers. And so if they apply Wednesday morning and that application is processed and ready to go, you know, they will get that notification letter early the following week. So the Monday following this Wednesday process, everything is mailed out of Madison. So it could be very short turnaround time. It just there's a lot of dependencies there. So I hope that answered the question.
I see we have another question in the chat as well. I just want to clarify something real quick though regarding landlord versus tenant applying for the WEAP benefits. Do both the tenant and the landlord need to apply, or is it a situation where the tenant in need of the assistance informs the landlord and asks them to apply? How do you differentiate that?
You want to take that, Bobby?
Sure. So if it is a tenant that's applying for the assistance and needs like the furnace program, the tenant and the landlord both have to qualify for the program. So they both would have to complete an energy application, both qualify in order to get the assistance.
Oh. And to clarify though, that's just for the program services component of our program. Right. So energy assistance does not have any requirement. The only requirement really, or contact that's made with the landlord, is if we're going to be issuing a single party check to the customer because they're making a separate payment to their landlord for their heat or electricity, or it's included in their rent. Otherwise there's, you know, no involvement really with the landlord.
Cool. And then we have someone asking, do they help with the water bill?
You want to take that, Bobby?
Yeah, based on the last part of the presentation.
Yep. So the water conservation is different, but we do have a program currently that is running through the end of September that is called the LIWAT program. And that is to help individuals with their water program. The local number that we have listed on the presentation, the 1-800-506-5596, individuals can contact that number to go ahead and see if they qualify for the LIWAT program. So if they apply for energy assistance, they qualify for energy assistance, they could qualify for the LIWAT program. And like I said, that will be around until the end of September.
We think.
You think?
we may spend our funding sooner than that. At the spending rate we're going right now, we will probably end that program sooner. But the appropriation from the federal government was states had until the end of September to spend out the funds. This is also, let's just call it COVID money. So it was Congress passed 2 different appropriation bills for this program nationally. So yes, if you have someone, get them in there now. Refer them now.
Alrighty, so I think we can move on. And I think, Jane, you're going to take over from here.
Yeah, can you drive for me?
You betcha.
Awesome. Okay, so first, my disclosure message. I am not the weatherization program section chief or bureau director. I oversee and I'm the manager of the energy assistance program. Now, I've been with the program for almost 25 years now, and we intersect with the weatherization program and have for years. So, but I'm not an expert. So we will do our best. And if there's questions that are asked that Bobby or I cannot answer, we will get an answer and send it on to Landon to provide it to the rest of the folks. So I just gave you some homework, I guess, possibly, Landon. Sorry about that. So the weatherization program, as Bobby already mentioned, it's the energy assistance program that basically determines that pre-eligibility or potential eligibility. And as I referenced, you have to put it in perspective as well, where the energy assistance program serves roughly 200,000 households annually. Weatherization program, could not go into that many homes and do that much work. It is available to homeowners or renters. I would say the most common recipients of the weatherization program in Wisconsin are homeowners. And that we have 18 contracts or 18 weatherization agencies in Wisconsin that administer the weatherization program. Many of them are community action agencies, but not all of them. There's, for example, Ashland County Housing Authority. So there's a housing authority. There's other nonprofits, but they're all nonprofit agencies, and there aren't any county government agencies that are administering the program like we have with the energy assistance program. And the weatherization program, in tandem with the energy assistance program, helps to reduce that energy burden. So what is energy burden? It's basically, how much of my income is used to pay for my energy bills, right? And so the weatherization program objective and mission basically is to reduce that burden, as is the energy assistance agency. It's just they approach it from a different angle. The energy assistance program reduces that energy burden by assisting with the bills, right? And your costs that are incurred annually. The weatherization program, though, goes about it by reducing it by getting into the home and doing some, I guess you could call it home repairs to reduce that energy loss or energy use. And Bobby mentioned this before, but there is a referral process. It's all programmed into our system, and the prioritizations change on a weekly basis. So every Wednesday evening when we run that process, that extraction process that I mentioned earlier, it reprioritizes households. And so it's based on primarily, it's listed here, but primarily their energy burden. And so we do compute that, and it's, the higher energy burden folks will, raise higher on the priority list, as well as factors where there's someone who's elderly or disabled in the home, or have children under 6. And so I mentioned the ability to assist 200,000 households. Definitely cannot do that. And then I also mentioned the burden reduction. And so this is last year, right, Bobby? These are last year's values?
Yes.
Yeah. So last year, the average job cost was about $10,000. So that's pretty significant investment, in these homes. And again, these homes are made eligible by households. So if someone is maybe renting a home, and they're energy assistance eligible, they may be eligible to receive weatherization services. Or maybe someone owns a home and they sell the home and they move to another building. That home 123 Main Street was weatherized. If I now move in it, and Bobby was living in that home before and she now moved out, but it was weatherized while Bobby was living there, I can't receive weatherization assistance, even though I'm living in that home, because the building was previously weatherized, right? So it's based on that household eligibility. But $10,500 is pretty substantial. And the other substantial component is annually. So again, this energy burden reduction piece, 440 approximately, or on average last year, $440 was the average annual savings for customers' bills as a result of the weatherization work that was done in homes. So what are some of the benefits of weatherization? So I mentioned this already, but we reduce the energy burden. We also reduce carbon emissions. And so it's not all about going in and reducing people's bills and blowing insulation in, et cetera, but we also are reducing carbon emissions and the dependence on energy imports, right? So the less fuel that's used to heat that home, the less that we are dependent, on those imports of fuel. And then, of course, the non-energy benefits. It creates jobs. So we've got weatherization agencies that are out there. The weatherization program just received pretty substantial funding that's going to run for 5 years through COVID appropriations. And so they've received some significant funding. And so I know that they're still recruiting and hiring staff. And it's a variety of things. Of course, you get those staff that they're called crew workers who actually go into homes and actually do the home repair kind of work or construction kind of work. But there's also the paperwork. There's also monitoring. There's a variety of different things. So job creation for sure. Reduction in water use, as Bobby mentioned earlier. So that's a component that's part of the weatherization program, as well as the program services water conservation program. And then just having it be more comfortable in your home, so you're not sitting there wearing long underwear or having blankets on you all the time because you want to reduce your bill, but it's drafty, or you just if you turned your heat up to 68 degrees, your bills would be significant. And so reducing that need and making it warmer and more comfortable. So those are all some benefits of the weatherization program. So what are some of the services that we do? I don't remember, Bobby, if we have a what do we not do. If we don't have that on the next slide, I'm going to share that because I think that's an interesting piece to share because there's a very common misunderstanding. But air sealing, so we're basically sealing air leaks. Attic insulation and wall insulation. So kind of two different components, and it's a different, they call them measures, but it's a different activity. So blowing insulation into the attic or putting insulation into the walls, and replacing inefficient refrigerators or heating units, furnaces, commonly known as. So if your refrigerator is green or avocado or gold, it's probably going to get replaced. And then we install LED light bulbs. So I think incandescent light bulbs were taken off of the market a while ago, but replacing with those LED light bulbs, and LED technology has expanded significantly and is improved, I should say. So those are some of the common activities that are part of a weatherization job. Oh, so I want to share what does weatherization not do? So a couple of things. One, it's not common that, if there's a hole in the roof, I mean, that's not as weird as that sounds, that we do have homes like that, or very, very significant repair, that building might get what's called deferred. And so some of the federal LIHEAP money can be used for some of that, to perhaps get it up to the point where we fixed the roof. Now we can get in and see what else we can maybe do. But as I'm sure you can probably respect, it's logical that you're not going to go in and blow insulation in the attic if there's a hole in the roof, right? So, but the most common misnomer out there, and I think it's attributed to the window companies that advertise. Windows, replacing windows is not a common. It's not that it won't be done, but it's not a common weatherization component or what they call measure in a home. Typically, replacing windows does not save significant energy. And so you hear these window companies say, oh, you're getting all this, heating leaking out of your windows. And sure, there is some to that. But when you put it in the grand scheme of things, not significant. So again, not that we won't, I don't want to go on record to say we don't do windows, we will, but it's definitely not a common measure that's part of the weatherization job. Okay, so there are some questions. Hello, please clarify, how would a renter maybe find out if eligible for energy assistance? Number of times building has had applications. I'm not quite sure. So if I'm a renter, how do I find out?
I think maybe it's asking, the question's asking, because you said that someone can apply only twice per season. If the landlord is also required to apply for benefits, if a renter runs into a situation where the landlord has maybe applied more than twice, would they be ineligible for assistance in that case?
You unmuted for a second there, Bobby. Do you want to take that?
Because you're meaning the weatherization side, correct?
I think this is going back and asking about just the energy assistance.
So the energy assistance side, so they're eligible one time per heating season, and the phone number that they can contact is located on the local website or on the division website, or you can go ahead and the individuals can use that 1-800-506-5596 number.
So if a renter has never applied, but a landlord has applied the twice per season, is there any recourse for that tenant in that situation?
Jane, do you want to take that?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what they're asking.
Yeah, and I think maybe Bobby and I, or maybe me, causing some confusion here. So a landlord and a tenant are very separate from each other when it comes to energy assistance. So there isn't a limitation, and the limitation of twice per year is on the crisis component only. Customers can apply multiple times per program year for energy assistance. They're only going to get one heating assistance and one public benefit, the non-heating electric benefit once. So if it's not like food share where your card will get loaded on a regular basis, it's a one-time per heating season benefit. The crisis is kind of above and beyond that. And so that's where there's a limitation of two benefits per program year. So if I apply for energy assistance and I'm eligible, I might receive a heating assistance benefit. I might receive a public benefit or a non-heating assistance benefit, but then I have the potential to receive two more crisis benefits. So potentially kind of four benefits in a way. The landlord component only comes into play when we're talking about the program services. So if I own my home, I obviously don't even have a landlord in the picture. If I'm renting and Bobby is my landlord and I report to my local energy assistance agency that my furnace isn't working, the first thing that Landon does as the worker is determines my eligibility for the program. Then they contact Bobby, who's my landlord, to make sure that she has applied for energy assistance. If she hasn't, then Landon will probably process an application for Bobby. And then once we are both determined eligible for the program, then we take it to the next step. There's a little bit more in there, but I don't want to get too much into the weeds here. But very high level, that's, so does that help hopefully?
Yeah, I think it answered the question. They responded there. And since we're down to almost 5 minutes left, I want to ask one more question that's in the chat. And maybe give you some homework. If we have additional questions, may I email you them and
Absolutely.
reach them?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we have one last question here, which is, if we are working with someone that absolutely income qualifies for furnace assistance, but because her insurance was canceling without repairing it ASAP, she had to take a loan that she couldn't afford. Does this program allow for a retroactive benefit? I think you touched on that a little bit earlier, but is there anything?
Yeah, for crisis only, for any furnace work, or even if it was a water heater that was unsafe and was repaired, and then they knock on our door to be reimbursed for that, that's not, the program is not designed to allow for that. So, you know, and if it is an urgent issue, most of our furnace referrals are urgent issues. Water can also be, you know, if your water heater is not functioning and you don't have hot water, a little bit different than not having heat, but still can be a health and safety concern. Or specifically if it's leaking, you know, that can be a health and safety concern. So we pick those up promptly, and we're required to by policy, but no, we cannot retroactively, for furnace or water, repay someone for a bill that they paid. Bobby, do we have another slide after this that shows contact information or website or anything? Okay.
Yeah,
So
we do.
Lana, do you want us to provide you with some of that maybe in an email?
Send me everything that you'd want to include. I send out a follow-up email on Friday with all of these slides, so everyone has the information, as well as the links you've provided and any contact information you'd like to share.
Okay.
So everyone will get that on Friday.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Do you need
Is that the end
anything
of the
more from
presentation?
us? It is.
Okay.
It is.
Fantastic. Yes, the recording will also be emailed. So I guess I will go back to sharing my screen.
Okay. And Bobby and I will step away. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good
Thank
rest of
you.
your day.
We
You
really
betcha.
appreciate it.
Bye-bye. You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we I think we answered did all the questions and answers that we did through the presentation. So let's just continue going, which is to thank you all for attending today, and a very special thanks to our speakers. If you find someone that we can both help, feel free to reach out to us here at Forward Service Corporation through our website or through our nearest office to you. A list of offices will be sent in that follow-up email as well. You can send someone our way by visiting the link below. That's fsc-corp.org/llrefer. And just a reminder that as we already mentioned, today's session is being recorded, and I will follow up with the PDF of today's slides. There's a link here. If you enjoyed today's session, this really helps us to better craft these moving forward. Your feedback is very, very appreciated, and we read through all of it. So if you have 2 minutes just to fill out a quick feedback form, we would really appreciate it. I'll include that link in the follow-up email as well. And then finally, follow us on social media, where we're currently conducting Get Set, F Set, as well as providing many other client spotlights in on-site enrollment events and all sorts of activities that FSC is doing throughout the state. So just search for Forward Service Corporation on social media, and you should be able to find it. For Bobby and Jane, I have been Landon Solano, and next month we hope to see you again for Mother's May and some special surprises. So thank you all for joining, and enjoy your lunch break if you're about to take one like I am. Thank you.